Why do we view outgroups negatively? So first I'm going to turn to uncertainty reduction theory. It was initially called initial interaction theory, but now it's called uncertainty reduction theory by Charles Berger and Richard Calabrese. The essence of it is we don't like uncertainty, right? We want to know things because when things are uncertain, we think the worst. Now, the way that uncertainty reduction theory says that we reduce uncertainty is through 4 different ways. We have the passive, active, interactive, extractive. Passive is just observing from a distance. So let's say I wanted to know more about, I don't know, Professor Nelson's, how productive she is at her desk, right? Or whatever. Like, let's say I'm Professor Schultz. I'm like, how productive? Like, just observing or listening to the conversation she has with people. That's stalking. Probably wouldn't be good, but that would allow me to gain some information as to how you're using your time. Active would be if I were to talk about another individual. So if I were to say, hey, Scott Ashman, or talk to the president, or President Thomas, be like, hey, how is Professor Nelson performing? Stuff like that. That would be active. Talking to a third party about how that specific individual is doing and trying to produce information about this individual by talking to another individual. That's still active. But you're not interacting, right? And that's where interactive takes place. Interactive is more, I'm talking directly to the individual. So I say, hey, Professor Nelson, I want to know a little bit about what you've been doing with your time, and I want to know how you've been productive. That would be the interactive method. And then lastly, we have the extractive method. That was added to the theory in 2002, so this is a rather new part of the theory. Extractive is more the internet side of it. So it's going on Professor Nelson's Facebook, social media, trying to figure out what's going on, right? Okay. But right, it's like, or trying to check her CV, right? Yeah. That would be extractive. And just to give you some statistics, because I feel like this, some quick little facts that you can use in your life. According to the Harvard Business Review, 70% of employers check out applicants' profiles as part of their screening process, and 54% have rejected applicants because of what they found. So probably check your social media. I don't know if you go back after class and make sure things you have on there are good, because people, especially in this day and age, once again, going back to people like to reduce uncertainty, it's really easy now to do it extractively through the internet, because we pretty much put our whole lives out on there if we're not smart about it. And we want to put our best foot forward, especially if we're trying to go to grad school or get a job. And now we have some axioms of uncertainty reduction theory. There are 8. There were originally 7, but 1 was added. So uncertainty reduction is a double negative, right? So we can think of it as certainty goes up, verbal communication goes up, nonverbal expression, information seeking, and all the rest. Now, verbal communication specifically means the amount that you just talk to other people, right? Very simple. The more you talk to other people, the more you reduce uncertainty about them. Nonverbal expression, this was originally called nonverbal affiliative expression, so it's more like the positive emotions from nonverbal communication. This would be like smiling or nodding your head when somebody's talking, right? That would be nonverbal expression. That goes up. Information seeking goes down, right? If you don't know a lot about another person, you want to know more about them, so you seek information. If you know a lot about them, you don't necessarily feel that need to seek information. Information seeking goes down as certainty goes up. Intimacy, right? And this is pretty, I think, some of these are, you probably would figure them out through common sense, but if you know somebody more, you're probably going to be more intimate with them. That doesn't necessarily mean, right, in a sexual way or anything like that, but just disclosing things that you probably wouldn't disclose to other people, right? That kind of goes up as certainty goes up. Reciprocity actually goes down. So reciprocity is if I were to ask you, how is your day going, right? If I just met you, you probably would keep it short, and then you'd ask me, how was your day, right? But maybe I know you, I've been talking to you for 10 years, I'll ask you, how is your day going? And you might go off on a tangent for 10 minutes, and then we might just leave it there, because we know each other. So reciprocity goes down. And similarity and liking and shared networks, right? Similarity, how similar you are to the other person. Liking, how much you like the other person, and shared networks, the number of individuals you know, right? So if I know, if I'm talking to Professor Nelson, I know Professor Schultz, I reduce more uncertainty about Professor Nelson by knowing who she's interacting with. Any questions about that? Cool. And this is also, and you don't need to write this down, but I'm just making a point of showing how important uncertainty is in Haas 86 cultural dimensions too, which is a very prominent theory in communication studies. uncertainty avoidance is also a prime part of that. So avoiding uncertainty is important. You can think of it as like a minefield. Our minds they don't know whether something is good or bad. They just know whether we know something or don't know something. And so when we don't know things, we think the worst. That's why the majority of fears, like the fear of the dark, are said to have come from one general, larger fear, which is the fear of the unknown. And when we know things more, right, and there's stats on college and, as I said before, the way you identify with the political party, but the more you know, right, the more often you tend to get intermarried with other races, and that might just be because you're more conscious and aware of, like, maybe this race doesn't define the person. You know, you reduce more uncertainty. If you didn't reduce uncertainty about the other individual or the other race or, like, I don't know what, like, political party, you might have a negative view because, once again, and I would say this is the most important part of uncertainty reduction theory, liking, right? Everything comes back to liking. So if we don't know a lot about other people, we don't like them. And that's why it's important to reduce uncertainty through those uncertainty reduction strategies. So I'm going to have you guys get into there. Yeah, precisely. So pretty much all of these are just generally strategies to reduce uncertainty, and you could have just followed the plus signs if you wanted and just been like increases, 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 decreases, increases, decreases, increases, increases. But that's generally how uncertainty reduction works. Now, next theory. Thank you for your participation, by the way, everybody. You guys did great. Now I'm going to go on to the outgroup homogeneity effect. So we tend to view individuals from outgroups as having the same traits. Now, this is kind of the way it looks, right? If you know somebody really well, right, there's a heterogeneous mixture. You're more specific about the ways that you would know them. So, like, I don't know, you do soccer. I'm sure, like, what's your favorite soccer team? Okay, so I'm pretty sure there's players on that team that, like, most people would say they're good or they're bad, but you know them really well. Do you think they're good or bad would, like, fit, like, Manchester United, or do you think each individual player within Manchester United is either good or bad in certain capacities? Maybe they kick really well, or, like, even though they suck, they run really fast. You find that to be true? Okay, and then do you find other teams that you're not, like, that you don't follow as much? Do you find that you don't get that same level of intricacy and you might just label them as good or bad? Okay, and, like, that's kind of, I don't know, that was a little bit leading, right? But that's kind of the way that outgroup or in-group homogeneity or outgroup homogeneity works. It goes back to information and our uncertainty. If you don't know a lot about other people, you just generalize them, right? But if you know a lot about your parents or maybe people you're really close with at Concordia, those individuals, you can be a lot more specific about them. And so now I'm going to take outgroup homogeneity and I'm going to take uncertainty reduction, and I'm going to pair those two together to answer, like, our question here. So uncertainty reduction theory, right? The Joker stereotype is somebody who's bad, right? So if you don't, this is, like, imagine we don't know a lot about somebody. Like, that's the context. According to uncertainty reduction theory, if we don't know a lot about somebody, does that increase or decrease liking? Yes, it decreases liking. So if we don't know a lot about something, that decreases liking, and now according to the outgroup homogeneity effect, we just pretty much just group this entire group over here, the people we don't know that much about, as one thing. So we combine those two, and now this is why it's bad, is because we have an entire group that we just cast in the same way, and the way that we cast them is in a negative light. And so that's how we get to, like, racist stereotypes or gender, like, negative stereotypes. We're taking an entire group and we're just saying they're bad. And we're not taking into the intricacies of, like, why they may be bad or stuff like that. We're just looking at they're bad, right? And that's when it